What's going on, everybody? It's your boy BrianDaddy coming at you with another video. Today we're going to continue our discussion that we were talking about with nodes in general. We did discuss already in the first part, so if you missed that video, go ahead and go check that out on my channel. Otherwise, let's continue on. We're going to talk about node governments, node quests, reputation, node buildings, and also just different types of nodes, the underrealm ones, coastal, underwater, and things of that nature. Let's get started. Node governments. Positions within a node government are attained through seasonal titles that grant special powers and benefits within the node. Some of these include mayors, priests, bishops, acolytes, social organizations, patron guild leaders, and chief bounty hunters. Let's go over some of the mayor's powers. Mayors are chosen through different election methods according to the node type, and only citizens of that node can be elected mayor. Kings and queens can also become mayor. Mayoral leadership powers are granted via the use of mandates, and players will be able to view a historical listing of mayors of that node. To obtain a mayorship, you will need to have a node election. Once a node has reached Village 3, there will be a 1-week cooldown period before the elections begin. This period allows players to establish citizenship of the node, which may require them to relinquish citizenship of their previous node. Following that cooldown, there will be a 1-week election process. Then from that point on, elections will follow a monthly cadence. Node sieges may not be declared for 21 days following the node advancing to any stage, which is very interesting. Could be used strategically as well. It is basically you can make yourself immune by making sure your node advances. Election notices will be mailed to the accounts of citizens. Now let's talk about some of the leadership powers that mayors have. These powers are granted via the use of mandates, and they may be able to initiate buy orders by using gold from the node treasury. Mayors will be able to use commissions to aid within the development. They can also adjust the tax rates, and that includes setting tax rates that apply to tavern games. They can initiate service building construction and expansions, which you see in the background gameplay, improving node defensive structures. They can hire mercenary NPCs. They can set a message of the day. They can propose node policies that are voted on by the citizens. They can also enter into trade agreements with other nodes. Also, they do not get a free home, but they do have offices within the town hall, and mayors cannot denote players as enemies of the state. Declaring war on another node, and they can rally citizenships to the cause. Mayors are notified when their node is named on a siege declaration scroll. So they'll get a notification when somebody is getting ready to declare war on them. And the mayoral title unlocks special abilities and stats during sieges or events. Mayors also gain new powers and responsibilities as the node advances, and some powers are specific to the node type, biome, or dominant race. Some decisions do require the mayor to be present within the zone of influence, but most do not. Also, if mayor does not make a decision within a certain amount of time, the system will make the decision for them. Node taxes. Mayors are able to set generalized node tax rate as well as overrides for different activities within the node. They gain additional taxation controls as the node advances. Some of these overrides include amenities, artisanship, commerce, property tax, and citizenship dues. And these are scaled based on the stage of the node when the player became a citizen. Node tax rates will be visible on the world map by hovering over that node. Tax revenue only goes towards the node development, as I said. The mayors cannot pull money out of the node treasury to then use themselves. Regent nodes do take a cut of the taxes from various activities that occur within their vassal node. Node wars. Node governments may declare war on another node and rally citizens to the cause. This mutually flags the citizens of warring nodes, including their allies, as combatants. Vassal nodes cannot declare node war on their parent node or any of their vassals. Node wars can be declared at any time, but the objectives will only spawn during server prime time. Node wars affect the reputation between the nodes. For in terms of internal conflict, there won't be any civil war mechanic within the nodes, but there will be a scope of internal political conflicts, such as undermining the current leadership by disrupting trade. There will be alliances in Ashes of Creation as well, and some of those specific content does revolve around within progression pathways and guilds and node alliances. There will also be node quests. Some storyline quests and narrative quests contain objectives for each chapter of a story arc. These players can progress each chapter by completing the story arc quests within the time frame that each chapter is active. Story arcs can branch into different stories with multiple endings depending on the quest objectives that players complete during each chapter. These quest stages can be failed. The ability to retry them depends on the node progression. Quests may also differ based on the stages of nearby nodes, seasonal influences, and events, such as world bosses. Quests involving citizens from multiple nodes are unlocked based on alliances and other relationships between the nodes. Racial quests. These quests will be based on each character's race, and different quests may relate to who the primary cultural contributor is of that node. This won't lock out content, but will add flavor to the quests. Quests that are race-specific, title-specific, or guild-specific will likely be less than 10% of the total number of quests. 90% of quests should be able to be shared by anyone. Mayoral commissions. They're simple type of quests that have singular objectives and are able to be initiated by the mayors. They cost gold from the treasury for the mayor to initiate, and there will be a cap on the number of commissions that can be accepted by any single player. Completing these commissions will reward the node with commodities, rep, mandates, and temporary buffs to buildings or zones. These commissions can also be conducted by both citizens and non-citizens, but only citizen contributing will generate mandates for the node. Mayoral commissions are distinct from node commissions, which are system generated. Node reputation. Good actions such as participating in a civilization building may result in a character gaining positive node rep. Bad actions taken, such as failing certain quests, may result in gaining negative rep. This rep is gained or lost on a per node basis. Certain NPCs or node vendors will react differently to players based on their rep within the node. Now let's talk about node buildings. Service buildings within a node are either default buildings that come with the node, or they're constructed buildings, which are initiated by the mayor and built by the players. Service buildings are further broken down into two main types. Active service buildings are service buildings that players directly interact with, and these are further broken down into artisanship and business, content and political categories. Passive service buildings, which provide benefits to the node and its zone of influence. These buildings are broken down into civic, cultural, fabrication, and vocational. Building expansions unlock higher tier workstations at the cost of dedicating service buildings plots. And node service buildings expansions specialize in building through the tech tree based on the stage of the node. Node layout and style. It's determined by several factors based on the environment, the node type, the contributing race, and the rest is determined by the node's mayor. Racial influences. The cultural influences manifest in many ways, from node and gear aesthetics on NPC languages and lore. So depending on who puts the most quest and XP within the node for that race, will actually end up affecting the node quite substantially. Unique node building. Each node type has a unique service building associated with it, which can be activated at Village Stage 3. The unique building plays a central role in the progress of the civilization for the entire server. Alright, let's talk about the reliquary. It is a node building initiative creation that is used to house relics. Relics stored the node's reliquary grant passive and active benefits for the node citizens and vassal states. Benefits will also be conferred to those who capture, steal, or sabotage the relics in the reliquary. And access to material components of the relics stored in the node's reliquary is granted to registered attackers after successfully destroying that node in a node siege, even though they were not citizens of the node. Now let's talk about node building destruction. All of the buildings have hit points and can be damaged or destroyed by different systems. There are NPC-driven events that are responsive to story arcs or node atrophy. They can be destroyed by node sieges and node wars. They can be destroyed by hazard events, such as tornadoes and hurricanes, which is crazy that they're talking about weather events being possible to destroy people's homes, like we're playing real life, but it pretty much is. Mayors have the ability to demolish constructed node buildings, and this will have a node mandate cost and require player to buy in via a vote. So they can't just kill a building and then say, all right, cool, that's fine. They're actually going to have people vote on it, and it's going to cost mandates. And if also building maintenance is not paid or a building is damaged as a result of an event or siege, the building will enter a state of disarray, and any NPCs or services offered will not be available until repaired. Players must contribute materials to repair those disarray buildings and restore them to the operational state. If a node siege is successful, or if buildings otherwise take significant damage, they will appear as rubble on the plot. Node governments must clear any rubble on plots before they can be reconstructed. So that'll require them to do quests and clean up to make sure that they clean out the area. Player housing is also a big part of this, but I'm going to go into player housing in a separate video, so make sure you are subscribed for that. That's a whole another big discussion that we're going to talk about, so we will talk about that in another video. Let's keep talking about nodes. Let's talk about underrealm nodes, and the nodes directly above them are considered adjacent, but they do not exist within the same zone of influence. There will be bleed over between the underrealm nodes and the surface nodes in terms of influence and interaction. There will be caravan routes that go underground, and there will also be node sieges occurring in the same manner. There will also be underrealm metropolises. So essentially, this underworld is going to have all the same stuff that's on the above ground, but it'll be the old troll race that lives underground. It's going to be quite interesting. There will also be coastal and island nodes, which these nodes will have specific water-oriented influences, services, and quest lines. Coastal nodes will change spawn tables of nearby water content and can also trigger specific events. In terms of underwater nodes, there won't be any nodes underwater or in the water, but they will have some NPC structures near water. Patron guilds. Patron guilds unlock the following benefits for their members. They can put emblems on their armor, they can participate in the node stock market, they will have the ability to participate in specific guild-based missions that will progress their guild's level. They can also participate in the allocation of guild points to unlock specific abilities, and they can have the ability to claim an in-node guild hall that will have different perks and benefits to halls placed on freehold plots. Any number of guilds can be in a node, but the number of patron guilds within the node is limited by the node stage. Villages will not have any patron guilds, towns can have 1 patron guild, cities can have 2, metropolises can have 3. Now let's talk about share markets. These are also known as stock exchanges. These will enable players to buy and sell shares in nodes, guilds, and social organizations. Stock exchanges were a Kickstarter stretch goal unlocked by reaching the $3 million mark. So the Kickstarter made a lot of money, and we knew right at that point it was going to be a success. I do wish I backed it back when it was a Kickstarter. I didn't know about it until, I think, 2019. And as soon as I found out about Ashes of Creation, I knew I had to get in. This is a planned feature for the launch of Ashes. We might not see it during alpha, but it will be there during launch. The values of stock is influenced by world events and the performance of nodes. Sieges will halt trading of shares in a node. This opens up potential for economic sabotage. There's no regulatory commission to restrict the purchase of sales of stocks. Alrighty guys, that's nodes part 2. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you. We've had a lot of love on the videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.